evening, and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey via SHR Media and streaming live on Facebook. I am very happy to be here this afternoon. It is beautiful Cape May County, but looking not so beautiful today. It's really been storming and windy, and I debated whether or not I was even going to be able to do my show today because I was afraid I wouldn't have any internet. That's how really bad the weather has been today. And even while I was at school earlier today teaching, we had the lights go on and off, the internet go in and out, and I only live about 3 minutes from my school. So I thought, am I going to have any internet to do my show when I get home? And I decided it'd be a really awesome idea to change internet providers today. So I did not know what I was coming home to as far as an internet provider. My mom was kind enough to let the new people into my apartment so that they could change the internet in the studio. So I am really grateful that everything seemed to have worked out with the weather and a new internet service, and it seems to be working perfectly. So I'm really pleased. My guest this hour is Rita Wilkins, and she is the president of the Downsizing Designer. She's going to talk to us about how to downsize your life, upgrade your lifestyle, secrets to more time, money, and freedom. And I am sure that we could all use a bit more of all of that: time, money, and freedom. I want to welcome Jerry Kruger to the Facey Chat. Thank you. I want to thank all the people who are liking and sharing the video feed. John Campbell, Vicky J. Howard, Doug Poss, my unpaid publicist. Thank you so much. Kim McClinton, thank you. Ed Rodriguez, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your sharing very much. A little bit about Money Talk News. Let's see what's going on in the news. President Trump was acquitted of his alleged crimes, Articles 1 and 2 of impeachment, and his acquittal took place, I want to say, on Wednesday is when his acquittal took place. But that, the thing about that whole situation, it's partisan on both sides, and really kind of a scary thing when usually in the past our impeachments, and when I say our, I mean our government's impeachments have typically been bipartisan type impeachments, but that has not seemed to happen this time. This time it was all on one side of the aisle, although because of Mitt Romney, it was a bipartisan. It was a bipartisan accusation, if you will, but he still got acquitted. Besides the fact that Mitt Romney was the only Republican to vote for impeachment and to vote for his ouster from office. I have to wonder if he would have done that if in fact, Vicky says Mitt Romney, if in fact the president really would have been ousted from office. I think, they're not being running for re-election again for another 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I really feel like the Joe Manchins of the world and Mitt Romneys think that their constituents will have forgotten about that by the time they're up for re-election. I'm not so sure. We live in unless we come together and kumbaya a little bit soon. I don't see that happening. If President Trump gets reelected, I think there's going to be some problems there. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering aloud. Other things in Money Talk News: Amazon plans on hiring 15,000 more people. If you recall, they were going to put a campus in New York City, and they decided not to do that. You guys have AOC to thank for that, for deciding not to put why would you not want an Amazon in your city? Just the job creation, the hub that it would create. Why would you not want in Amazon. I would love an Amazon in South Jersey. Probably never going to happen, but but a girl can fantasize. But they're hiring 15,000 more people. The building's going to be in Bellevue, Washington, instead of New York City. That's unfortunate for New York City, if you ask me. The new jobs report came out today. Apparently 225,000 more jobs were added to the payrolls in January, and wage growth is picking up as well. Wage growth has picked up to 3.1% from last year. And the reason why that's the most important part about the wage growth picking up is that the wage growth is not the people at the top. It seems to be the people at the bottom whose wages are growing, quite frankly, people who need it the most. So that's a very important thing to point out about the jobs growth and the wage growth. And I'm glad that it's being reported. What's one more thing? Let's see. Big oil is taking a plunge. The world's most valuable oil company at one point, at least the publicly held company, ExxonMobil, has seen its value go down in recent years. It peaked in 2014, but its market valuation has dropped by the same amount as Boeing. And that's saying something because Boeing has had all kinds of problems. By the by, actually, let me do one more news thing, and I just have a message to share with you. According to an editor at LinkedIn, young people don't like job hopping. Apparently, they stay at the jobs that they go into for 6 to 10 years, which is I find I can't stay at a job for more than 5 years before I start to get antsy, but I'm hardly young. By any stretch of the imagination, I'll be 50 this year. But I find that after 5 years, I start to get antsy and I start looking for other stuff that I want to do. But apparently, young people are staying at their jobs for 6 to 10 years, and that's pretty amazing because I think that young people kind of get a bad rap as not being very settled and things like that. But apparently, they don't job hop like some of us older folk like to do. Now, I just wanted to say one thing about just life in general. As you all know, I'm a conservative and I'm a Christian, and every now and then when I'm in the mood, I will say something really super duper ridiculous. Hey, Mike Fitzpatrick, nice to see you. And I am feeling better. I honestly wasn't feeling well last week. I swear I wasn't. But I learned a lesson this week, and that is this: as a Christian, and I don't know why I have to learn this lesson repeatedly, but spend more time praying than worrying. That's all I'm going to say. I have this thing where I'll worry. And like literally the last thing that occurs to me to do is pray. And then I pray on it and it's fine, really. So I just spend more time praying than worrying. I think that's what God is trying to tell me. And I just felt inclined to pass that message on to you all. If you are so inclined, if you're a Christian as well, and you're a praying person, do more praying than worrying. And besides that, what benefit does worrying do you anyway? Not much, I have to say. There was zero benefit. Zero got done with me worrying. Not a thing. Except probably a few more gray hairs. Anywho, it's 5:15. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Rita Wilkins. She's the president, the downsizing designer. She's going to talk to us about downsize your life, upgrade your lifestyle, secrets to more time, money, and freedom. And we have a brand new Ron Edwards notebook coming your way. We'll be right back.
Once again, leftists attempted to create problems where there were none in Richmond, Virginia. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, NBC News talking head Ben Collins, like most leftist media elites, is a big hater of our unalienable right of self-protection. Leftists like Ben Collins were gunning for the possibility and wishing upon a star in hoping that the Soros Rita gumps, who were expected to pretend to be neo-Nazis and white supremacists, would cause problems at that big rally in Virginia. In fact, Collins tweeted, "White supremacist rally," when in reality it was a large and very peaceful Second Amendment rally. Let's not forget, the rally became a much larger event this year because Virginia Governor Ralph Northam had launched a litany of ideas to basically do away with the rights of Virginians to own and bear arms, and added insult to injury by calling the Virginia Citizens Defense League sponsored Second Amendment rally a white nationalist rally. But in reality, there were white and black men and women from throughout Virginia and the United States of America in the effort to tell Governor Gun Grab Northam that he cannot destroy their unalienable right of self-protection. I'm Ron Edwards. Check out theronedwards.talkspot.com for news updates and other great stuff. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Don't just pass the IRS exams. Why not pass them all and get a solid tax education too? Visit irsexams.school and let the Tax Mama staff get you started today. All our live and self-study tax courses offer you the convenience to study online on your own time and have everything you need to succeed. Tax Mama teaches you tax law, practice, and representation from the ground up. That's irsexams.school. Why wait? Get enrolled today in our premium course or the self-study class. That's irsexams.school. It's way more than just a review course. It will improve your entire future.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Rita Wilkins. She is also known as the Downsizing Designer. She's the president of that organization, and she's written a book called Downsize Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle, Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom. And I'm looking so forward to talking to her a little bit about Rita. She's a nationally recognized interior design and lifestyle design expert known as the Downsizing Designer. She's a TEDx speaker and author of Downsize Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle. She has designed thousands of residential and commercial interiors and is a graduate of URI, RISD, UNC, and UVA. Okay, girl. Rita Wilkins is a nationally recognized interior design and lifestyle design expert. Oh, why did I say that twice? Anyway, without further ado, Rita Wilkins, how are you?
Hi, Melanie. So nice to be here with you, and thank you for asking me.
Oh, I thought when I talked to you back in, by the by, this is one of the, my guest is one of the people that I met at the National Publicity Summit, which that is just a wealth of awesome people like yourself. And I'm so glad to have met you. I have to say one thing about TED Talks. And I'm going to have to take a good look at your TED Talk. I'm addicted to TED Talks. Most people, kids and a lot of people listen to music when they're on long trips and things like that. Not me. I binge TED Talks. I do. I'm never listening to music. It's usually TED Talks, just back to back, different TED Talks. I love them.
I'm a TEDx binge watcher as well. There's so much to learn. And, I was asked to do a TEDx talk after I downsized from a very large home to my tiny little apartment here in Philadelphia. And, you never know how much your story might resonate with other people. And it was because of the TEDx talk, which was called Downsize Your Life, Why Less is More. It was my experience of living with so much less that I had to start sharing, basically with the world. And, with TEDx, it does go around the world and we have almost 1 million viewers. So obviously there are people out there that are yearning for a simpler life, less stressful life with less stuff. And really that's what I talk about. And I speak around the country now, and my book, Downsize Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle, is about the impact of living with less so you have more time, more money, and more freedom to pursue what matters most to you.
And that makes so much sense. And even as you say it, the logical person in me is like, that is really logical. That is really reasonable. You know what? That's a great idea. So why do I have all this stuff? And like you, I actually moved out of a bigger home before I got divorced. I was in a 4-bedroom home and got divorced and moved into an apartment. And apparently, somewhere in my brain, it has still not registered that I'm in an apartment and no longer in a 4-bedroom house. So, like, I still have a lot of the stuff, but I'm in an apartment. Like, that is not going to work. And I know I don't need all the stuff. Like you said,
right.
I know that logically and intellectually. I'm not a dumb girl. And
right.
But something is going on there.
Well, sometimes, we are in denial, that we have so much stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that at some point in your life, you may start to look around, which was my experience after a trip to a third world country. I had never experienced people who have so little, but they were happy. And it was after that trip, I came home and I looked around my big home, and it was a big home. I'm a designer, so it was beautiful, and I had so much stuff. But it was that trip that was my wake-up call to, do I really need all of this stuff? And does this stuff mean anything to me? Now, that was my wake-up call. But prior to that, I was in denial. I just realized, okay, I had a lot of stuff, but I kept buying more. But after I did decide to live with less, I can now help other people that might struggle and choose to live with less. It's not everyone's choice. I downsized by 95%. So I'm now living on 5% of what I once owned. And frankly, I've never been happier. Now that was pretty radical, and it's not going to happen to everyone. But on some level, when you start to realize that too much stuff causes stress in your life, if you were to simply declutter, one small space like a kitchen counter or a nightstand or, an area where you build up magazines, and then you declutter another space, you start to feel a little differently. You feel more organized. You feel more in control. You have a sense of calm and peace. And if you do that just even one drawer at a time, one closet at a time, you start to experience, wow, this is what my life could be like if I didn't have so much stuff. So it's sometimes those little baby steps, So sometimes it's emptying one drawer. So if today you went home and you said, okay, I'm going to clean out one drawer because Rita said clean out one drawer. I'm kidding. Try it and just see what a difference that makes. Or sometimes it's your car. By Friday, my car looks like I live in my car, but I don't. So every Friday, I make myself clean out my car so I can begin a new way to live the next week. But whatever it is that you start to feel, this is really impacting my life. I'm feeling uncomfortable because my car is so messy, or my drawers are so messy, or my closets are messy. I can't find anything. When you start to experience that, just take one baby step and try cleaning out one area. And that's basically called, downsizing by decluttering. It was something that I kind of coined in my book, because you don't have to move to downsize. You can actually start decluttering your home. So if you were still in your 4-bedroom home, and if you chose to, you could, start decluttering and living with less.
Well, ironically, the 4-bedroom home was not my idea. We lived in a 2-bedroom rancher, which I thought was plenty, to be honest. But my ex-husband was the one who wanted to move into a 4. I was like, we don't even have kids. Why are we moving into a 4-bedroom house with just the two of us?
Right.
And from it's as sexist as this is going to sound, from a female perspective, the first thing that came to my mind was, this is going to be a lot more to clean. Like, I'm going to be cleaning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah, I do.
In a lot of homes, the hubs are not doing the bulk of the cleaning. That's just how it is. It's just a fact of life. But I thought this is going to be way too much, and it's just going to be more spaces to put crap in.
Right. And actually, what's so interesting is that you have a larger space and then you grow into it. So you need more stuff, and we keep buying more stuff, and that has been a very typical path for many of us Americans, particularly baby boomers. We're the era of buying a lot of stuff and buying bigger homes, more stuff. And, when you look at the younger generations, they're not accumulating the same amount of stuff that we did. But frankly, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to organize, to maintain, pay for, and because you are Money Talks with Melanie, this gets kind of expensive when you start having to spend time, which is money, your energy, which is money, and then, sometimes pay people to maintain a yard or whatever. And this is kind of an interesting statistic. It was a study done by University of California, some anthropologists. They went into 32 homes in America, and they documented every single item in those homes.
Oh, my word.
And what they discovered, there were over 300,000 items in the average American home. And then that's one statistic, but then the other that is really just mind-blowing is that 10% of Americans will spend $1,092 this coming year to rent a storage unit for some of their stuff. So I guess the question just becomes, number one, do we need it? Do we want it? Do we use it? And if the answer is no, I haven't used that in 6 months or a year, or I don't even remember what's in my basement. Those are the areas to start looking at. It's the multiples, the duplicates. So when I first started downsizing, my daughter-in-law was there, and I remember starting in our kitchen, which was not exactly the smartest place to start. But she opened one, but that was my lesson learned. But she opened one drawer, and she's this beautiful woman, and she's about 5 feet high, and she just looked at me and she said, "Rita, do you really need 4 sets of measuring spoons?" And I remember that statement because it was, oh no, I guess not. But anyway, it was one of those moments where it was the beginning of my reality that, do I really need 4 measuring spoons? First of all, I don't cook that much, so do I even need 1? But I had 4. And then if you look at areas like your pantry, where you might go to Costco. Well, I'm single. I don't need to go to Costco. And I don't anymore, but I used to go to Costco, and I would look at my pantry and I would see these supersized boxes of rice or cereal or something like that. And I think, well, that's kind of ridiculous. But you just start looking around, and the whole word that I love to use is just notice. So sometimes when we really take the time to start noticing, it kind of makes you laugh at yourself, frankly,
It does.
At one point, yeah. I had 9 black dresses, I call them little black dresses, not so little, but those were those special dresses. And when I moved here to my tiny apartment, I still had 5.
Okay.
Now, mind you.
I wanted to ask this. Okay. First of all, Katina Person in the Facebook chat, I wanted to tell you this. One thing she said was, this about minimalism? Sounds like it is. Sounds like it to me. Right. And she said she practices minimalism. She also said, she was just about to say, because she's chatting in here. We're chatting in there. She says, I was just about to say what she did. If I haven't used something in 6 months, I must not need it, so I get rid of it. Now that is, now I have a couple of comments about that. My first comment is about the black dresses. How many is too many black? Like, I don't know. I get a little panic stricken about getting rid of. I think I probably have 5. I probably have 5 black dresses, but they're so. Each one in I'm hoping that you're going to knock down this defense. You're just going to blow this defense out of the water. But they're different types of black dresses, right? They're sleeveless black dresses, long sleeve, long black dress. I have one of those. I think, I may have 2 short sleeve black dresses. I may have 2 of those. I think I have 1 long sleeve. No, I have 2 long. No, 3 long sleeve black dresses. I'm just
let me ask you this, Melanie. Do they all fit? That's number 1.
Yes.
Have you tried them on lately? Okay, so they all fit.
Yes.
Do you feel fabulous in each one of them?
No, not fabulous.
Okay. So if you were to just use that category of, no, I don't feel fabulous in this, well, then maybe you could give that one up. And now you have 4. And then the next question is, have someone else look at it on you and have them say, that really looks great on you, or it looks terrible on you.
Oh, wow. Now
so
you're really just pushing limits now.
You're funny. Well, when you say you're feeling a panic attack over this, I totally understand. So you're not alone. Okay, this is confronting. Decluttering and downsizing is very confronting because you're talking about something very personal, and those are your clothes, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. But seriously, when you start looking at your closet, just number one, try it on. And I actually had a friend come. She actually used to be a fighter pilot, and she was a colonel in the Marines, so she was tough. And she said, Rita, I will be glad to help you, but I'm not going to do it for you. So I tried every single piece of clothing in this particular closet on. She sat there with her arms folded, and I won't tell you her exact language, but she basically told me it didn't look good on me at all.
Oh.
and that was, it hurt for the first or second or third time. But after that, I thought, my God, I'm so glad she's here telling me this, because I thought that looked good on me, but I valued her opinion. And so anyway, I was able to get rid of so many clothes. And I'm going to say this. This was actually a confession I made in my TED Talk. It was like going to church and going to confession, that I had 9 closets and 11 rolling racks filled with clothes. Now, that is a mind-blowing number. And when I think about that now, I'm embarrassed by it, but it was my reality. I had to get real with, where am I with this, very large home, and being a single woman, spending so much time, money, and energy on taking care of it, and I want to downsize. So I had to get real. Like, what can I give up here? What can I let go? And it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Starting with clothes may not be the best place to start, frankly, if you're considering downsizing, because clothes are pretty emotional. But so take an area like a garage or like a basement, or, you go through your house with a big plastic bag and just say, why do I have all these magazines? They go into the bag, they go into the trash. Go into, maybe your linen closet. Do you really need, 10 sets of sheets? That, some
I
of them
need
are very
all
old.
of those, Rita. Now,
you and I are going to have to talk.
I need all of those. Trust me. No. Amos says that he's a hoarder. Amos in the Facey Chat says he's a hoarder, and he's emotionally attached to everything. He said, says the best way for me to throw something away is to never buy it in the first place. Wow. Otherwise, he has a hard time getting rid of it.
Tell him congratulations, because if you could, number one, stop the bleeding, right? So rather than just putting Band-Aids on things, stop the bleeding by stop buying more. I haven't been in a store in 2 years, and I don't miss one bit of it other than to buy the basic things that I needed. But when I stopped buying, I thought, wow, I don't really need this anymore. I have all I want and all I need, and I'm happy. So when he talks about emotional attachment, what you may want to think about is like, why are you emotionally attached to it? Probably he's not emotionally attached to everything, but what categories? So is it family photos? Is it books? Is it, whatever it is that he might be attached to? Start just noticing, like, why am I attached to this? So when you talk about family photos, of course we all have attachments to those memories of that particular time in our life, and that had meaning for us. But do you really need every single photo? I mean, you can digitize them, which is a simpler way to keep, as many photos as you want. When it comes to other things like, books. People have a really hard time giving up books. But when you start to look at a bookshelf, and if you just take a look at one shelf at a time and literally touch every single book and say, well, did I even read this? Number one. Number two, would I read it again? Could I give it up? Could I give it to someone else that might be interested in it? So when you start letting go, it's like peeling off a layer of your skin. It hurts. But on the other hand, well, for me, one example was my kitchen table. I know where my kitchen table is right now. It's sat many, many people, and we had many, many great times around that kitchen table. But obviously, it wouldn't fit in this tiny apartment. But I gave it to a woman who did some work for me for a number of years, a beautiful Hispanic family. And I know that this evening, her family will be sitting around my kitchen table. And that makes me smile.
Wow.
So if you start thinking about your other stuff, your clothing. So many of my nice clothes went to a women's shelter, and those women, might now have a nice suit to wear for a job interview.
I need all 25 of my suits, Rita. Stop. I need all of them. Even though I'm a school teacher and I don't really wear suits as often as I used to, I need all 25 of those. I swear to you, I do, for real. I just posted in the Facey chat. I said, "Do I need 3 red dresses?" Yes, I do, because I'm a Republican. I need 3 No, of course I'm kidding, but that's
how
it feels.
Well, I totally get what you're saying, but think of areas, and you might, after this conversation, just go home and think about an area, let's say a kitchen counter. That's kind of a good place to start, because kitchen counters do get cluttered. And when you walk in your home after a busy day, and you have all this stuff on your kitchen counter, just get a sense of how that makes you feel. Then clean it off, and then walk in again, and how does that make you feel? So I did this with my sister, who had just said, "Rita, I really need your help," because her home office was very, very cluttered, and she said, "I can't think in my office." Now, I hear that a lot. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give you 3 hours, and we're going to get this place done. So we literally, in 3 hours, made her office go from, very, very messy and cluttered to this very pristine environment. We took a before picture, and we took an after picture. And I said, I want you to keep that after picture at your desk, because, in the world of being able to think clearly and creatively, what's going to make you think more clearly and more creatively? Not everyone will say a clean environment, but many people will. And, so those are the kind of things that you can do, just one little step at a time.
Now, Katina said that the one that she has a hard time with is books. I have a hard time with books too. And she said she gets a lot of them electronically, and she's donated quite a few to her local library and the thrift store, but she still kind of has a hard time with her books.
Okay, and that is not unusual at all. So maybe a thought would be to go through shelf by shelf of every single book that you have on that shelf, and pull out your favorites and put those in a pile. And then take another pile and pull out those that you might not have even read, you probably never will read. That's another pile. And then you've got the other ones that, well, maybe I'll read it again, and I just like it, and it makes me feel happy. So you can kind of sort through that way. There is a chapter in my book, I don't remember which chapter it is, but we have 57 places about where you can donate or repurpose stuff. And books are a very big category in there. So if they do get the book, and they can go on to Amazon to get the book Downsize, Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle. I think that people have really commented about how helpful that is. And I actually want to, and I'll post it on my Facebook. If you were to, friend me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Rita Wilkins, I will post probably in the next week, some additional areas that you can donate your books. So if you put yourself in the mindset of, okay, I've read this, I'm not going to read it, I really do want to downsize my books or declutter my books, I will give you a list of new places to send those to. Because think of it this way. There are people that don't have that advantage of having too much of anything. And they're really wanting to read more. And think of how you can contribute to other people and their lives.
I had a question. I like that. I had a question in the Facey chat. Kenneth McClinton, he had a couple. One of the things he asked was whether clutter was nurture or nature. And I guess what he's saying is, like, if you grow up in a cluttered environment, are you more likely to have a cluttered environment as well? Or, is that something that you just are that person?
That's really a great question. I had a conversation with a woman this morning, and she wants me to assist her with downsizing and decluttering her basement. And, I ask a lot of questions when I have those kind of calls. And she said that as a child, she grew up in a home where they had very little. And it was a single family home. She said that, they held on to things because they had so little. So that's something that you can't change what your past was, but what you can change is your future. So if you don't have to be a clutter bug for the rest of your life just because you grew up in a cluttered family. If you choose, and life is always a choice, if you choose to live a simpler life with less, you can do it. And it is a journey. And if you take these little steps like cleaning out your car, cleaning out one drawer, starting on one closet, starting on one bookshelf, each step you take, you're going to start to feel differently about things. And so I do believe firmly that if you currently have a cluttered mindset, it can be decluttered. An example, too, is, that this isn't just physical clutter. This is mental clutter that we're talking about. So what holds us back from letting go of things? Why are we so attached to our stuff? It's because we make stuff mean something. So for me, an example was I was doing a talk for a group of baby boomers at a university, and I was going to ask them to go to their basement and open one of the boxes that's been in their basement for 10 or 20 years. And because we all have those. And I thought, well, if I'm going to ask that of them, I'm going to go to my storage unit, which, by the way, I no longer have, but I did have a storage unit at that time. And I said, okay, well, I don't really feel like doing this because it was a pretty summer day, but I went to that storage unit. I found a very small box, and I opened it. What did I see in there? I saw my son's high school soccer shorts that still smelled. But why did I hold on to those soccer shorts? And it was because I had a memory of that time of my life where I went to every single game. It was a very special time of our life. I was holding on to a memory. So I called my son, who lived in New York at the time, and I said, I found your soccer shorts. And he said, Mom, why did you keep my soccer shorts? Anyway, so that's an example of clutter that I held on to because of a memory. So anyway, when he laughed at me for having kept them, I did take a picture of them, and I wrote a story about them so that my granddaughter someday will wonder, why did Grandma keep, my dad's soccer shorts? It'll be a funny story to tell. But, those are the kind of things that we hold on to for whatever reason. But when you start to discern, why am I holding on to this? Why did I hold on to those soccer shorts? Another thing I found in there that was really quite interesting to me was I found a set of wrapped in cellophane, the VHS tapes on motivational speaking. And I guess at that moment in time when I was packing up all of my stuff, I couldn't let go of those because I wanted someday to be a motivational speaker. So it was aspirational. And, of course, now I speak around the country. But I was not ready to let go of those. And now, of course, it was much easier because that's what I'm doing. And so think about, why are you holding on to this stuff? What does it mean? And if it means something to you, take a photo of it. In my TEDx talk,
I like that. Take a photo of it.
Yeah.
Now, in your book, you said you listed top 10 lessons that you learned from downsizing your life. And I loved this. Number 2, well, I don't want to gloss over number 1. I don't want to tell all the lessons either. They need to buy the book. So let me point out the ones that I liked. So number 2, I thought was great. You said you learned a new definition of success.
Yeah. So that was really profound. So I've had a very successful design firm for 35 years. I became single. I built a 5,000 square foot home, and it was beautiful. And then I owned, this kind of car and that kind of car. Okay, so what was I doing? Only after my trip to a third world country where people had so little, they had almost nothing, and they were happy, and that's what I wanted. I thought, okay, why do I have to have a nice house with all this beautiful stuff in it? Was that something? What it really meant was I had identified success with having beautiful stuff. Bigger, more beautiful, all of that. And what I realized is, no, that's not who I am. I don't need all of that stuff to know in my head and in my heart, I'm successful, I'm enough. The message really was, I am enough. And, that was something, it did not happen overnight. There were many, many tears where, as I was downsizing, getting rid of stuff, but the more I got rid of, the lighter I felt, the happier I became, and the more I realized, Rita, I've identified with this stuff as what success meant. But in fact, what success meant was having, so much less and being able to be happy with who I am and what I can now contribute to the rest of the world.
I just realized another thing that you said that you learned, and wow, on this one. Number 8 on the list is, I let go of having to be perfect. I think I just felt my toes get stepped on a little bit. And in one of my, 50 billion pairs of shoes that I'm wearing.
Yeah. Well, this is an area that I think many, many people struggle with, So what stops us sometimes is you don't know the end game. So unless you know the end game, you don't start. So unless it could be perfect, then I didn't start. So there have been so many things in my life that I got stuck on having to know the end result before I would begin. And yet the irony of it is I'm an entrepreneur, and I love taking risks. And, being an entrepreneur is messy much of the time. And I've failed many, many times. But, by taking risks, you don't know what the end game is going to be. Yeah. So an example was when I had never lived in a city before. And I thought, okay, well, when I downsized from this house, I want to try living in a city. I love visiting cities. My sons were both living in major cities. What would it be like? I didn't know the end game. So again, if I had said, I'm going to stop myself from taking this risk and having to know the end game and having to have it all be so perfect, then I would never have had the experience of living in this beautiful city, in this beautiful area, in this tiny little apartment where I'm so happy. If I had not let myself let go of being perfect, I would not have this life.
Wow. That is profound. And this last one, this is the last one I'm going to tell that's on the list. Like I said, you need to buy the book to find out what all 10 are, but they're all equally as profound. But these are the ones that spoke to me. The last one I want to point out is the one that this one said, I learned to love myself for all I am and all that I am not. So are you suggesting that the clutter, that a lot of what the clutter is reflecting, like we're trying to, no, let me say that differently. Projecting. We're trying to project a certain image. We're trying to project a certain thing. We're trying to build our character, so to speak, outside of ourselves.
Yeah. You've nailed it. When you learn all you are and all you're not, I mean, none of us know everything. None of us are perfect. And that's a very comfortable place to be in your life. So I do remember this, when I built that big house, I did it because I could. And that, now that I look back on it, I was projecting. A big house means I'm successful. Well, that sounds pretty haughty. And it was, because I was. Now, I've been very humbled by this entire process, because when you know who you are and you can stand proudly and say, yeah, I own this tiny apartment. It's 867 square feet, and I have 5% of what I once owned, and feel happy about that. That's when you know that you are enough and that you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that's such a peaceful place to live. And that's one of the biggest impacts that I've received out of, when I live with less, I live more. I now have more time, money, and freedom to pursue those things that really matter to me, like having this call with you. This is important, because if I can make a difference in one life tonight, that would matter. And if my book makes a difference in the lives of people, or if my speaking makes a difference in the lives of people, for them to just open up their eyes and wake up to, do I really have so much stuff? Do I really need or want or use all of this stuff? And if not, then what would it be like? And I love those words, or what if I did declutter and downsize and got rid of one of my little black dresses? What would my life feel a little bit simpler if I decluttered my car every week, or if I kept my kitchen counter clean? What kind of higher quality of life would I have? And it doesn't happen overnight. But you think about your garage, right? So you have a garage, you put your car in, and in America, so many people can't even fit their car in their garage because it's so filled with stuff.
Very true.
So what would that be like if you could actually pull your car into the garage, have it be protected overnight, and you look at that garage and it's organized, it's simple, it doesn't have that much stuff? What would it be like to walk into your mudroom and not have, coats and hats and boots and everything else hanging everywhere, but everything, there was less of it. Now, and you would have more space.
Well, let me ask you this. What if getting rid of stuff gives you anxiety? Is that, that's something that probably should be checked, right? Like if the thought of not having, I don't even know, 35 sweaters, which is probably around how many I have or more. What if the thought of not having, for some reason, the thought of not having a sweater to match with those pants, or pants and a skirt to match with that sweater perfectly, is a stressor to me. And I realize intellectually, like I said to you before, intellectually I realize that's cray-cray. So
well, no, you know what? I mean, and the way that, I've heard a couple of things that you've said in this call, that there is anxiety there, and I totally relate to that. If you go into the book, there's a chapter about scarcity mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, when we have a scarcity mindset, will I have enough food to eat? Will I have enough money to, to pay my mortgage or my rent, or, pay for my children's education, whatever it is? When you live in a scarcity mindset, which can, we can always change our mindset, we can shift that. It takes some work there too. But when you can start to distinguish, where's this coming from? The gentleman that said he was a hoarder, and that came from his I think he said he came from his childhood. And then this woman that I spoke to this morning, she distinguished and very clearly articulated to me, yeah, when I was growing up, we had so little. So that's important to distinguish. I grew up in a family with 5 kids. We were all in college around the same time, but we were a middle-class family. So, we didn't talk about having a lot of money because we didn't, but we talked about values, the value of all of us going to college, the value of having a nice home, the value of having food on the table, the value of sitting around that kitchen table having conversations. You have to distinguish, and that's where there's this is not just physical clutter. This is the mental clutter that I talk about in my book. When Downsize Your Life and Upgrade Your Lifestyle, you downsize the physical clutter, start with that, and then you're going to ultimately start downsizing the mental clutter too, and start understanding, why did I keep my son in soccer shorts? Oh, that was because that special time in my life, I can let go of that. Or, why did I cry when I opened a box and my dad's alarm clock was in it? It wasn't the alarm clock. It was the memory of our dad getting up to provide for our family.
And those memories are just as valuable without the stuff in your house.
They are. They absolutely are. And that's like a big, big takeaway from this conversation, because, that clock I have a photo of, and I've created a Shutterfly book with the story about why did that clock make me cry. It sounds kind of silly. A clock made you cry. No, it wasn't silly at all. It meant so much to me that our dad, cared so much about us that he got up very early and I could hear him winding that clock. So once you can distinguish, why are you holding on to stuff? And frequently it comes from a scarcity mindset. But I'm not a psychologist at all. It's just some of the stuff I distinguished over the course of several years of downsizing, and now I'm just sharing that with you.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the book with me, and my audience. My audience in the Facey chat is definitely very excited, and I'm sure that this will be downloaded many, many times once it's posted as a podcast, because I'm getting so many comments in the Facey chat about this topic. I knew when I met you that this conversation was going to benefit the audience, and selfishly myself. So.
Well, I'm so glad, Melanie. And I loved meeting you in person. And please continue this conversation. I'll be glad to be on as many times as you want me to be.
I will definitely bring you back.
Yeah.
You did such a fantastic job, and I feel like we just scratched the surface. We have a couple minutes left of the show. Can you tell the audience where to get your book, where to avail themselves of your services, all that? Follow you on Facebook and Twitter and all of that good stuff.
Sure. Okay, so my book is on Amazon. It is an Amazon #1 bestseller. It's called Downsize Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle. And so you can get my book there. You can also reach me at Rita Wilkins at ritawilkins.com. I will answer every single question I get. That's how much this matters to me. My website is Rita Wilkins at ritawilkins.com. And that's our lifestyle division. And then the interior design division is called Design Services LTD. So in addition to lifestyle, we also talk about interior design, which has been my core business for many years. But I welcome people to contact me and ask me your questions. And, if you read my book, this is something that people might be interested in. If you belong to a book club, one of my offers in my book is that once a month I have a drawing for book club participants, and I will be glad to be on a call with your book club if we pick your name. So, and then just one other thing, and this might help, and we started talking about this initially, Melanie. On my website, there's something called the Quick Start Guide to Designing the Life You Love. And I would highly recommend that, because it's kind of the beginning of a journey of where are you now, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then the impact of what it's like, to, not all of us have perfect lives in all areas. Some of them are better than others. But,
mine is perfect. It's awesome. Nothing needs to be changed. It's great.
Great. I'm so glad to meet you. Yeah. But anyway, just have them look at at that, because that might be something that will help them, and it is free. And if they do the work, it should make a difference in their lives.
It really is fabulous, gang. You need to pick that up, the Quick Start Guide. And the Quick Start Guide, I mentioned to her before we got on the air, is pretty comprehensive for a Quick Start Guide, in my opinion. It really is great. So you should go to the website and download that. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And I want to thank everybody in the Facey chat. If you're listening to this as a download later on, thank you so much for supporting the show. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Rita Wilkins, for being on the show. You just did a fantastic job. And I hope to have you back, because we definitely have more to chat about.
That's great. And make sure you clean out that drawer tonight.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on it. I have a feeling you're going to ask me about it the next time.
I will.
I want you
all.
Thank
you for having me on.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I want you all to remember that this is important, because after all, it's your money. Have a great weekend.
Take care.